Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon.
We were discussing about the characteristic features of prokaryotic cells, and we learned about some of the structures present within a prokaryotic cell. What are mesosomes? We learned about mesosomes, its functions. What are mesosomes, Valentina? How are they formed?
Foldings of cell membrane.
These are formed by the infoldings of plasma membrane. And certain functions of mesosomes also we learned. Analysts, what are the functions of mesosomes?
Cell wall formation and DNA replication.
And distributing it to the daughter cells. What else, Devika? What are the other functions?
Respiration and secretion processes, and it is also helped to increase the surface area of plasma membrane
and its enzymatic content. Okay, now we are going to continue. We learn more about the cell envelope in prokaryotic cells. Let's learn about the cell envelope or the cell covering. It's a chemically complex protective covering. So in prokaryotic cells, you can find a chemically complex protective covering, and it consists of 3 layers. There are 3 distinct layers for the cell envelope: glycocalyx, cell wall, and plasma membrane. So in prokaryotic cells, not only plasma membrane, they have 2 more layers: cell wall and glycocalyx. So just like in plants, they too have cell wall, even though the composition can be different. So cell wall, glycocalyx, and plasma membrane. These are the 3 different layers found in prokaryotic cells, and it is together they form a chemically complex covering. Cell envelope is a chemically complex covering which protects the organism, and it has got 3 distinct layers: glycocalyx, cell wall, and finally the plasma membrane. We'll start with the first one, glycocalyx. Glycocalyx forms the
The previous slide.
Previous slide is only this. It's having a chemically complex protective covering, or the cell envelope is a chemically complex protective covering, and it has got 3 layers: glycocalyx, cell wall, and plasma membrane. So 3 layers are there, and the first one is glycocalyx that forms the outermost layer. So the outermost layer or the outermost layer of the cell envelope is glycocalyx. Its composition and thickness will be different in different bacteria. So depending upon the type of bacteria, the composition, the content of glycocalyx and the thickness also can vary. So it is not, we cannot generalize and say this is the composition and thickness. This can be different for different bacteria. It may be a slime layer, very loose sheath, a slimy layer, or it can be a capsule form, means very thick and tough. So when the glycocalyx is very thick and tough, you call it as capsule, and when it is forming a loose sheath, you call it as slime layer. So that is what was mentioned in the previous line. The composition and the thickness can be different for different bacteria. Either it can be very tough, or it can form a loose sheath, a slimy layer when it is in the form of a loose sheath, and when it is tough and thick, you can call it as capsule. Once again, in prokaryotic cells, the cell envelope forms a protective covering. It's a chemically complex layer. There are 3 distinct layers for this cell envelope: glycocalyx, cell wall, and also plasma membrane. And glycocalyx forms the outermost layer. And the composition and the thickness of this particular layer can be different in different bacteria. At times, it can be very tough and thick. Then you call this layer as capsule. But maybe it can form a loose sheath also. In that case, you call it as a slimy layer. Now moving on to the next layer, cell wall. It forms the middle layer. This can be seen in all prokaryotic cells. So this one is seen in all prokaryotic cells, provides shape to the cell. You know, it's a rigid layer. It provides shape and structural support, and it prevents the bacterium from bursting or collapsing. So this particular layer is a rigid layer, and thereby it gives it shape and support, and also helps it to prevent bursting and collapsing, or they can resist bursting and collapsing due to the presence of this rigid layer, that is cellulose. So cellulose is the middle layer, and it is a rigid layer providing support and giving shape to the bacterial cells, and it also prevents the bacterial cell from bursting and collapsing. Okay. And finally, I'll repeat all the points. Finally, we have plasma membrane. It forms the innermost layer. And just like in other animal cells, this is also semi-permeable, which means it will allow only selected substances to move across it. And it is this layer that interacts with the outside. So it is semi-permeable and interacts with the outside. This is, just a minute. This is structurally similar to that found in other eukaryotic cells. So all the three layers you can see over here, glycocalyx, then cell wall, and plasma membrane that forms the innermost layer, and it is through this, or plasma membrane will permit the entry of selected substances to move across, and thereby you call it a semi-permeable membrane. It is this membrane that interacts with the external environment by helping in the exchange of materials. So all the three different layers, I'll repeat again. So the prokaryotic cells are having a chemically complex protective covering, that is cell envelope. The cell envelope has got three distinct layers: glycocalyx, cell wall, and plasma membrane. And glycocalyx, the composition and thickness of glycocalyx can differ in different bacteria. It forms the outermost layer, and sometimes it will form a loose sheath, then it is slime layer, or it can be a capsule when it is thick and tough. And then we learned about the middle layer, that is cell wall. It is rigid, and this can provide shape and support to the cells. It also prevents the bacterium from bursting and collapsing. It gives them rigidity and support. Hence, it will be able to, you have already learned about the role of cell wall in plant cells. So just like that, they can resist changes, or it will prevent them because of the rigid cell wall. They can prevent bursting and collapsing to certain extent. Then finally, we have the innermost layer, that is plasma membrane. Just like in higher eukaryotes, so just like in the case of eukaryotic cells, they are semi-permeable. So structurally, they are similar to the plasma membrane found in eukaryotic cells. It's a semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane means membrane which will permit only selected materials to move across it. So semi-permeable membrane, you can even call it a selectively permeable membrane. Structurally similar to that of eukaryote. So with that, we have completed the cell envelope in eukaryotes. Any doubt? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Based on the types of cell envelopes and their response to Gram staining, bacteria are of two types. So Gram stain, it's a type of stain, and it got the name after the scientist who found out this particular stain. Gram positive, you can categorize them into two types. And the stain was found out by a scientist named Hans Christian Gram. Hans Christian Gram, he found out, or he prepared this stain, and based on the response of the cell envelopes to this particular stain, or based on the type of cell envelopes and their response to gram staining, bacteria can be categorized into two types: gram positive and gram negative bacteria. So gram positive means they will take up the stain and they will retain. So their color or their take up the stain and retain the stain, then you call it as gram positive bacteria. And gram negative, they do not retain this particular stain, and the stain got the name gram stain because this was developed by Hans Christian Gram. He developed the staining method, and you can see examples for gram negative and gram positive bacteria. Escherichia coli is an example for gram negative bacteria, and for gram positive, Staphylococcus aureus, it's an example for a gram positive bacteria. Streptococcus pneumoniae, another example for gram positive, and another example for gram negative, Haemophilus influenzae. One example is enough. So Escherichia coli is an example for gram negative bacteria, and those which take up the stain and retain the stain, they are known as gram positive. One example is Staphylococcus aureus. So once again, you can classify bacteria into two types based on their cell envelopes and how they are responding to the gram stain. So two types are there: gram positive and gram negative. So gram positive are those bacteria which will take up the stain and it will retain it. They get stained with this, they get colored with this. Whereas gram negative, they will not retain the stain. So you can categorize them into two types: gram positive and gram negative. And the stain got the name gram because this was developed by the scientist Hans Christian Gram, and this will help in distinguishing bacteria based on their ability to take up the stain. Shall I change? You want to see the previous slide once again? You want to see the previous slide?
Ma'am, what is staining?
See, staining means, suppose you want to see or you want to observe a particular cell, you will add some stain. When you start doing the practicals, you will come to know. So, for example, if you want to see the different parts, see, even in a cell, the different parts will be stained differently. Like nucleus will take a little more stain and it will be seen as a dark colored body. Cytoplasm will stain lightly. So that will help us to distinguish the different parts. So stain is something which we use for coloring the specimen that we want to observe so that the different parts can be seen clearly. Otherwise, you cannot make out, when the scientists are observing a particular specimen, they cannot make out the different parts. So when we use a stain, some examples for stain include methylene blue. So if you want to observe your human cheek cells, so if you're taking a sample of your cheek cell and if you want to observe it, we add a bit of a drop of methylene blue stain so that you can see the different parts like plasma membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, etc. will be taken up, or the stain will be taken up differently by different parts of the cell, and you can see the parts clearly. That is staining method. That is why we stain different specimens. So something which is used for coloring the specimen. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next we are moving on to chromatophores. What are chromatophores? So this is also certain structures found in prokaryotes. These are also membranous infoldings. These are also formed by the infoldings of the membrane. Example, cyanobacteria, and they contain pigments. So chromato, so from that term itself, you know, some coloring agent. So chromatophores are membrane infoldings. The membrane can fold inwards and form structures known as chromatophores, and they contain pigments. The pigments are coloring agents. So these chromatophores contain pigments. So that is a function of chromatophores. So just like mesosomes, mesosomes are also formed by the infoldings or the extensions of the plasma membrane. and their functions you learn, the different functions of mesosomes we learn. The next structure is chromatophores. These are membranous enfoldings, not in all prokaryotes, in certain prokaryotes, and these structures store pigments in them. So the pigments present in prokaryotic cells, different prokaryotic cells can be different, and this is not found in all prokaryotes. In certain prokaryotes, chromatophores are present, and depending upon the organism, they contain different pigments or coloring agents. Okay, next is about surface structures in bacteria. Surface structures in bacteria. So certain structures, as the name suggests, arising from the surface of the bacteria, arising from the external surface of bacterial cells or prokaryotic cells, you can see certain structures. Mainly you're going to learn about 3 such structures. We'll start with the first one, flagella. You're going to learn about 3 structures. First one is flagella, then pili, and the third one is fimbriae. Flagella is plural, flagellum is singular, pili and fimbriae. These are the 3 surface structures found in bacteria or prokaryotic cells. So we'll start with the first one, flagella. Bacterial cells, they may be motile or non-motile. Motility means ability to move. So all bacterial cells may not be able to move. So some bacterial cells can move, some are not capable of movement. So those which are motile or those which are capable of moving, they are provided with flagella. So flagella are found in, so flagella is not only found in bacterial cells. Where else you have learned about flagella, children? Where else you have learned? Name an organism where flagella are present. Anybody? Protozoans. For example, Euglena, you can see 2 flagella, one big and one small. Okay, so that helps them in locomotion. So if the bacterial cells are motile, if they are capable of movement, they are provided with flagella. And at the same time, we have non-motile bacterial cells. So then they may not contain flagella. A bacterial flagellum. So if you take the a single bacterial flagellum, you can distinguish 3 basic parts. One is filament, hook, and basal body. So these are the 3 structures or 3 parts of a bacterial flagellum. So out of this, filament is the longest portion, which you can see. So here, when we say flagellum, what comes to our mind is a tail like a long structure. So that is the longest portion, which is extending from the surface of the cell. So here you can see the picture of a flagellum. So the part which you're seeing here, that is the filament. It is extending from the surface of the cell to the exterior. And apart from that, it is having a hook and basal body too. So along with that, a hook and basal body are also present. Once again, the first one is flagella, and flagella are found in motile bacteria, helping them to carry out locomotion. And a bacterial flagellum can be, or we can distinguish 3 parts in a bacterial flagellum: filament, hook, and basal body. So hook and basal body are within the membrane, so that is not seen externally. Filament is the longest portion, and that you can see extending from the surface of the cell to the exterior. And we cannot generalize the number of flagella in a bacterial cell. The number and the way they are arranged, that can be different for different bacteria. Once again, we were discussing about the different surface structures in bacteria. We started with the first one, that is flagellum. Bacterial cells, either it can be motile or non-motile, and flagella are found in motile bacteria. There are 3 basic parts for a flagellum: filament, hook and basal body. Filament is the part which you can see extending from the surface of the body to the exterior, and the number of flagella present in the bacteria can be different. It will be different for different bacteria, and at the same time the way they are arranged, the positioning also can be different for different bacteria. And then we'll see the next two structures, pili and fimbriae. Pilus is singular, fimbrium, fimbriae. And pili, these are, see here you can easily distinguish the three types, pili, then fimbriae and flagella. Three are shown in this figure, so you can make out the differences between these three. So flagellum, number will be less, usually one or two, and you can see a flagellum. So flagellum is singular, here it is given as flagella. Okay. Flagellum is given over here. Pili, these are elongated tubular structures. They are elongated, the brown colored parts, the brown colored structures. As you can see, these are tubular, and these are made up of proteins. Whereas fimbriae, they resemble bristles, bristle-like fibers poking out from the surface of the cell. And along with flagella, pili and fimbriae are found in bacterial cells. But like flagella, they do not play any role in locomotion. They do not help the organism to move around. For the movement, flagella help, or flagellum helps them to move around. But fimbriae and pili, they are not helping the organism to bring about movement. Instead, they will help them to get attached to the substratum. So when they have to get attached to some places or some rocks or somewhere, when they need to get attached to some substratum, for that they will help, and also to get attached to the host tissues. Maybe it can be some substratum or getting attached to the host tissues. So these structures will help. Okay. Maybe for getting attached to some rocky area or inside the tissues of the host. So these structures will enable them in anchorage or in getting attached to some suitable substratum, but they are not going to help them in locomotion or movement. Flagella, fimbriae and pili are three surface structures found in bacteria. Flagellum helps in locomotion. Fimbriae and pili will help them to get attached to a suitable substratum or getting attached to the host organism, but they do not help them in movement. And about the structure of flagella, what did we learn? The flagella, they are long elongated structures, and these are found in motile bacteria. You can distinguish three main parts for flagellum: a filament, which is the portion which is visible outside, that is extending from the surface of the cell to the exterior. Then there is a basal body and hook, and the number and arrangement of flagella can be different for different bacteria. Apart from this, they have two more structures, pili and fimbriae. Pili are tubular structures, proteinaceous structures, and whereas fimbriae, they are bristle-like. One is tubular, tube-like structures which are made of proteins, and fimbriae, they are bristle-like, arising from the surface of the cell, and even though they are present along with flagellum, they do not help in locomotion. Instead, they will help them to get attached to a suitable substratum. Okay, is it clear? Can I stop sharing? Can I stop sharing, children?
Ma'am, you can show the next line.
Next line. Okay, okay, okay. When you complete, let me know. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Any doubt? No doubt. So we learned about cell envelope. What are the three distinct different layers in the cell envelope of prokaryotic cells? Analysts?
Glycocalyx, cell wall, and plasma
Who is
membrane.
learning over there? A, B, C.
Brother, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Glycocalyx, cell wall, and
Plasma membrane.
plasma membrane. Then, what do you know about glycocalyx, Sarah? What did you learn about glycocalyx?
They may be in slime layers
Hmm.
if they are loose sheet.
Hmm.
They may be in
Hmm.
capsule if they are tough and thick.
Forms a
Capsule.
capsule. Okay. How can you distinguish bacteria on the basis of Gram stain? Shabiri?
Gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. While on staining, if a bacteria retains the stain, then it is gram-positive, and if it does not, it's gram-negative.
Okay. And children, this Gram staining, I told you that generally why stains are used. But other than that, Gram staining is having applications in microbiology. So when they use Gram, see, just to find out an infection in a person, taken some sample for testing for this bacterial infection. So when they use this Gram stain, they'll be able to distinguish between Gram positive and Gram negative. So then there it is easy to identify what is the cause of bacterial infection. So they respond differently to the Gram stain. So they have already classified depending upon the response of bacteria to Gram stain into one category, Gram positive bacteria and Gram negative bacteria. So in microbiology, when they use this particular stain, they can easily identify. So this infection is because of a Gram positive bacteria or it is due to Gram negative bacteria. So it will make the pathological studies easier. So it has got so much of application in microbiology. Okay, then what else we learned? We learned about flagellum. What are the three main parts of a flagellum, Lakshmi?
Filament, hook, and basal part.
Okay, how are flagellum, pili, and fimbriae different in terms of their function? Alan, how do they differ in their functions? Alan Joshi, flagellum, pili, and fimbriae.
And they have to attach to the substrate.
Which one? Pili and fimbriae helps in attaching to some substratum or getting attached to the host organism. Whereas flagellum helps in providing or helps the organism to carry out. Help them to, flagella help them to, it will beat like a whip and then promotes. Alan, just a guesswork. Alandina, help him.
Locomotion.
Locomotion. Alan, what is the point?
Locomotion.
Locomotion. So flagella help in locomotion. Pili and fimbriae, they do not help in locomotion. Instead, they help them to get attached to a suitable substrate. Okay, children, shall we wind up? Okay, any doubts? No. You're simply saying you have no doubts. And in spite of spending so much time previous period saying you have to turn your videos on, see. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.